I'd like to introduce a Yogananda Christmas. This is a short play compiled from the original words of some of the early disciples of Yogananda. And in this skit, written by Kirsty Norfleet-Andrews, you will meet Durga Mata, Kamala, and Rajasi Janakananda. They're going to share with you what it was like to be with Yogananda at Christmas time. You'll see a little more human side of him maybe than we usually focus on, a little more humorous side of him. Master absolutely loved celebrating Christmas. So I'll give you a brief bit of background on each disciple. Durga Mata was born Florina de Fleur in a French settlement in Michigan in 1903. She met Master in 1925, and she was his personal assistant for many years. And then she became Rajasi's personal assistant. She did any task asked of the great guru, from cleaning and cooking to actually tearing down a house car and building it back, almost all by herself. She was a disciple for 67 years until her death in 1992. Rajasi was born James J. Lynn to a poor family in Louisiana in 1892. He became a very successful businessman and a self-made millionaire. Under the guidance of Yogananda, he was lovingly called Saint Lynn, or Rajasi. He became the president of Self-Realization Fellowship after Yogananda's death in 1952. Now, he died a few years later in 1955. He had been a disciple for 23 years. And we round out our trio with Mary Buchanan, given the spiritual name of Kamala. She was born in 1906 in Colorado. She and her mother, Dr. Frances Buchanan, met Master in 1925 in California when Kamala was just 19. A sudden friendship, a quick friendship between the three of them was really unique, and Kamala became the first female that Yogananda ordained as an SRF minister. She was a disciple for 72 years until her death in 1997. So now for your entertainment and chuckling as well as inspiration, please welcome a Yogananda Christmas.
Please stand up, everybody, and sing with us. In the beauty of the lilies, Christ was born across the sea. As he died to make men holy, let us live to make men free. As he died to make men holy, let us live to make men free. His love is marching on. Everybody! Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His love is marching on. In the beauty of the lilies, Christ was born across the sea. As he died to make men holy, let us live to make men free. As he died to make men holy, let us live to make men free. His love is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His love is marching on. Please be seated. Merry Christmas, everybody. My name is Durga Mata. I'd like to introduce to you Kamala and Rajasi. And we've come to share with you a Yogananda Christmas, what it was like to be with Master during the holiday season, both at Mount Washington, which was the headquarters for Self-Realization Center in Los Angeles, California, and also in the center in Encinitas, California. I had the great privilege of being Master's personal assistant. And he looked forward to, with great anticipation, for the Christmas holidays. In fact, he would shop all year round. There wasn't an antique shop or a pawn shop that he would not want to go into to see if he could find some wonderful Christmas gift for somebody. Now, he was able to find some very lovely things. When he found a good gift, and at a very good bargain, he would joyfully come out saying, "I got it for a song." Then he'd put it in his big vault in the library. And when Christmas time came around, he opened up that treasure chest and he gave it all away. So a typical Christmas Eve would go something like this. Master would finish his last-minute shopping tour in the morning, and then through the afternoon and all through the night, we would begin these very elaborate cooking preparations for Christmas Day. But about 10 minutes to midnight, Master would look at his watch. He'd look at his watch over and over again, because he wanted to be the first, and he loved to be the first to say, "Merry Christmas, everybody." And he'd walk up and down the halls of the nuns. He'd walk up and down the halls of the monks, calling out joyfully, "Merry Christmas," whether anybody opened their doors or responded or not. Well, we would continue cooking till 1 or 2 in the morning. You think we were done? No. That's when we begin to wrap those gifts I told you about from that vault library. Master loved to write all his gift tags, and he'd wrap a few gifts in secret for those of us who lived at Mount Washington. We would open them at a later time. We have our own special Christmas with Master under his tree up in his room. Well, we finally would get a few hours of sleep, but then we'd get up again quite early for any last-minute preparations before the guests arrived on Christmas Day. Kamala, would you like to share what it was like on Christmas Day with Master?
Sure, I'd be delighted to. Thank you. Well, Master loved all of the Christmas festivities. It was, for him, a very, very joyous time of year, and it seemed that the more people were milling about the house, the more he enjoyed it. He absolutely loved all of these beautiful, elaborate decorations, and he every year requested an enormous tree to be placed in the entryway, the lobby of Mount Washington. And it would also be decorated, and the friends and guests who joined us for dinner would bring gifts for Yogananda, and they would be placed underneath the tree, just there. At dinner time, he was the perfect host, and everyone seemed to just beam with happiness being in his presence. He would go around from table to table to table to table, talking with every single person. I don't think he missed a single one. After dinner, he would stand up at the head table and give an inspirational talk, and he always ended by thanking by name every person who had contributed to making the dinner such a success. He was profuse in his praises and appreciations, even for the tiniest little effort made. After that, he usually sang with us, and often it was his version of Glory Hallelujah, which Durga Mata was just leading us in a few moments ago. And then he would go over to his chair and collect his orange shawl and wrap it around his shoulders and play Santa Claus for everyone who had gathered. This, I have to tell you, took hours and hours. He would ask us to hand him one present at a time. And so we would give a gift to him. We would whisper to him who it was for. He would locate them in the audience, walk over, present the item to them, and then everyone in the hall would watch as they unwrapped their gift. Now, if they didn't unwrap it quickly enough, Master would go back over there and rip off the ribbon and the paper himself. He was always delighted when they were happy with their gift. And on occasion, there would be more guests than gifts. And so he would whisper instructions to one of us to go here or there around Mount Washington and collect a special item. And we would go and get it and wrap it up for them so that he could give it, so that no one ever left our Christmas celebrations empty-handed.
Thank you, Kamala. In the early years, Master did a lot of lecture tours. In fact, that's where we all met him, at different cities, at different times. And Master went into the United States as far as Alaska, and he went to other countries such as Mexico, and of course back to his homeland in India. And he loved to play tourist, and he liked to go to the historical sites wherever he was. Well, then he had the idea that he would buy souvenirs for people for Christmas. Well, people appreciated them, of course, but often they did not know what to do with them. So they would put them away someplace, sometimes out of sight. Well, when Master would come visit, he would be so disappointed he would not see his souvenirs out. Well, it took me years to convince Master that perhaps if he gave more practical and useful gifts, people might be able to appreciate them a little more. So I would like to give you an example of what Master would have given for souvenir gifts. An old-fashioned lager sawmill from Detroit, Michigan. A miniature metal train from Pikes Peak, Colorado. A candle holder with 2 piggies from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Now, Master had a great sense of humor, and he loved to give mechanical toys as gifts. So here is a mechanical toy airplane from Buffalo, New York. A miniature cannon from Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Now, Master also met the president of Mexico, Mr. Portes Gil, and he brought back a salt and pepper bullfighter and bull. Also, a Statue of Liberty and Empire State Building figurine from New York. Now, Master also met President Coolidge while he was in Washington, D.C., and he brought back a fan of the president's, from George Washington to Calvin Coolidge. So thereafter, Master began to give more practical gifts, and he showed such delight when he saw his gifts being used. I remember my first Christmas at Mount Washington. It was 1929. I had finished wrapping up gifts with other devotees. Master walked over to me, and he handed me not a string of Rudroshka beads, but one single little bead. And that one small bead has meant more to me than any gift I had ever received up until that point in my life. Rajasi, wasn't there a special gift that Master had given you?
Yes. One year, Master gave me a beautiful mosaic with the pictures of the masters of our lineage in a circle, and his picture below it. He also put my picture underneath. I can't imagine why he would do that. He said to me, "Rajasi, I did it all for you. I cut, I pasted, and I affixed them all for you. I did it all myself. I surely treasure that gift. Another year, he gave me this beautiful cross. I keep it close to my heart.
And Carmela, wasn't there something Master gave you?
Also in 1929, this was the first Christmas celebrated at Mount Washington. Master had just completed his new book of poetry, Whispers from Eternity. And he, in anticipation of its publication, sent me this card. To Kamala, for undying devotion to God and Yogoda, unceasing blessings. A whisper from eternity is coming soon to you, to whisper eternally of God to you. It is one of the most treasured spiritual blessings of my life.
Master lovingly called Rajasi his little one. And Rajasi was not able to come to Christmas as often as Guruji wished. Isn't that true, Rajasi?
It is. You know, Master would start calling me as early as July for me to come to California for Christmas. Now, I was living in Kansas City, Missouri. I was very busy. I had many responsibilities, especially around the holidays. Now, Master was never unkind. He was always very loving, trying to coax me, just coax me to California for Christmas. He did write me a certain letter one year. This was from November 28th, 1939. Christmas, he wrote, still remains a joyous spot in my heart, but that too is partially eclipsed with the prospect of your coming hidden in the clouds of doubts. Think, when I came back from India, how eagerly you came to Los Angeles to celebrate Christmas. I understand business entanglements, but as long as we feel you are very eager to be with us, we are happy. Christmas comes only once a year. We wait 365 days for it. We have all been shopping for you and looking around for things throughout the year with the eager expectation of enjoying Christmas and gifts with you. That's all I have to say to you. Even office work may be suspended and Christmas celebrated only if somebody thinks it worthwhile. Oh, that's all I have to say to you. Nothing more.
Well, Rajasi could not come that year. And Master, as always, had a very beautiful Christmas tree in the lobby, waiting for Rajasi to come. In fact, he insisted that we keep it up until Rajasi came. Oh, that poor thing, it stood up so long, it turned into a skeleton. Well, finally Rajasi was able to come, but, I think it was, April?
April 1st, I believe.
And we had Christmas all over again in Encinitas. So I had gotten an artificial Christmas tree. We held hands around Master and Rajasi, and we sang Jingle Bells. And it was so dear to hear Master try to sing American carols. But here is a picture now of Rajasi being blessed by Master in Encinitas. You look very happy, Rajasi.
I was very happy. I'm still very happy.
During the end of Master's life, he received so many gifts that he decided he'd put them up in his room under his own Christmas tree and just open them at his own leisure. One Christmas, He had so many gifts. Oh my goodness, it was like floor to ceiling. You could hardly see Master's little head above all the gifts. Well, a fellow monk was walking by, Oliver Black. And Master, upon seeing him, called out to Oliver. He said, "Oliver, look at all these presents. What am I supposed to do with all these things? Tell me, what would you do?" And Oliver thought for a moment. He said, "Well, sir, I believe I would keep them." And Master, being the great yogi that he was, said, "That's exactly what I was thinking." I love that story. During the holidays, whenever Master saw Jesus, the hair on my body would just stand up on end. And the presence in the room was just tremendous. I remember we were once all singing "Glory Hallelujah." I felt Jesus come, and he put the sign of the cross right on my forehead. And every time I sing that song, I feel Jesus make the imprint of the cross on my forehead. Rajasi, do you remember that one time? It was during an 8-hour Christmas meditation. You and Master were sitting on a platform. We were all meditating. And all of a sudden we heard this tremendous thud. And we looked up and you had fallen right off the platform. You were laying there unconscious. Do you remember that, Rajasi?
Yes, I was sitting next to Master, and he said he had seen the beautiful face of Jesus. Now, I wanted to see the beautiful face of Jesus, so I put my hand on Master's arm, and that was the last thing I consciously remembered.
Well, Master later told me that it took a long time to coax Rajasi back into outer consciousness. He did not want to come back. And it took 2 men to lift Rajasi up and bring him back to his chair. Oof, we were all so worried about him. Do you remember what you did, Rajasi, to let us know that you were okay?
I would like to share another experience. We have
Lovely,
time?
of course.
This also begins with a card sent to me years after the first. Master wrote, "Although you meditate 2 or 3 hours at night and then sing and talk to him, at first you will hear no response. But then suddenly a light will appear, a fragrance will come. This is the way that God manifests himself to man. But it requires great persistence on your part." I had no way of knowing the deep truth of these words when I first received the card. But shortly after Master left his body, I was sitting in the quiet of my meditation room, deeply absorbed, when I became aware of Master's presence there with me. And as I sat in that experience, I began to smell the aroma of roses. Now, I had placed my copy of Whispers from Eternity, the book that I had mentioned earlier, I'd placed it just on the balcony nearby where I was meditating. after reading in it. And as I sat there with Master in meditation, absorbing the smell of roses in the air, I realized that it was not coming from any rose of this plain. The smell was emanating from the pages of that book.
Carmela, your story of the rose reminds me of my very first Christmas without Master. After he had passed. It was also my first Christmas away from out Washington because I needed to be with Rajasi and Encinitas. It was a very difficult time for me. Mrs. Lewis, a very devout disciple, had put a decorated Christmas tree in Rajasi's room. She put a pink rose on my dresser. Upon seeing that rose, I mentally complained to Master. I said, "No Christmas decorations for me this year?" And that rose, it's not even a red one. Well, I could hear Master's voiceless voice say, "Never mind, Durga. I will give you a Christmas tree." Well, a few hours had passed. My sorrow did not cease. And Rajasi had asked for some juice, and so I sat with him at the dining room table. And I could hear from another part of the house a recording of Master. And it was just more than I could bear. And I put my head down on the table and I vented soul-searing sobs. And through my spiritual eye, as the divine promise had been made, I saw a vision of the most beautiful, symmetrical Christmas tree I had ever seen. Gone was the sadness and the sorrow, and instead I felt the overflowing grace of a Master's divine love. Since Master has left his earthly abode, he makes himself felt through the holidays. And he is definitely among us right now. I know without a shadow of a doubt that he comes to those who are pure in heart and mind, and he fills our souls with God's and Christ's omnipresent love. It is a Christmas tradition for me to sing Divine Love Sorrows. It was 1930. Master is sitting at his kitchen table, and he's listening to a phonograph recording of Fritz Kreisler's Liebeslied, which means Love Sorrows. And Master was so struck by the beauty of the melody that he began to write lyrics. He didn't know the melody too well, so he had a nun hum it. Over and over and over again. Poor thing, I think she might have hummed it all day. But finally, he got it. So I would like to present to you Divine Love Sorrows. I have been roaming, forsaken by thee, who hast seen me growing, hardly ever answering. I have been roaming, bursting all the boundaries of heart, evermore moving towards thee, to thy vast unthrobbing heart. Come thou to me, O Lord, oh come at last to me. Centuries and centuries I have waited there for thee, through endless incarnations I've called out for thy name, searching by the stringlets of all my silvery dreams. I know that thou must come at last to steal the flowers of my heart. In sorrow thrills I pipe my love, I sadly sing my song to thee, and yet I know my love must reach thee, though many lives I have to wait on mountain crags of high devotion. I sadly sing my song, my song, my song. Karen, please. Betsy, Vinny, Sai Ganesh, Chandra, where are you, Chandra? And Rammurti, our director.